Hi everyone, welcome to the month of May, and for ocean liner buffs, that means one thing: the Lusitania. Yes, that other ill-fated four-funneled North Atlantic ocean liner that was tragically lost far too soon. The Lusitania is no slouch when it comes to being covered in literature. We have everything from the classic to books that make for powerful reading, such as this one, to books that come in a more petite package, such as this, and this, and to everything in between, including this, and of course, this. But today's book is none of those. It's a more curious piece produced by the Government of Heritage in Ireland, and it is this book, RMS Lusitania, The Story of a Wreck. And as with previous reviews, you will see images from the book up along this side here, which saves me having to bash myself trying to display them in front of the camera for you. This book looks at the story of the Lusitania from a unique perspective. The books that I highlighted earlier tell the story of the Lusitania as an ocean liner, or the story of the Lusitania as the tragic disaster that it was. What this book looks at is not only the story of the Lusitania from an Irish perspective, but as well what it means to the Irish people, and how the wreck itself is not only managed, but also recorded for scientific and historical purposes. But before it goes into that, it does give a broad overview of the history of the ship. It's a very general overview, and there's one terrible error where they mix up the White Star's Big Four with the Olympic, saying that the Olympic was built during the Big Four and that the Lusitania was a response to the Olympic, which, as we all know, is absolutely wrong. It was the other way around. So for a governmental publication, little errors like this are quite surprising. This is not a book to be purchased just for the history of the ship. Any one of the others that I highlighted earlier can go with that. But the strength for this book is actually in looking at artifacts, looking at stories of individuals, but also looking at the stories of those who have researched the wreck, who dive on the wreck, and who are the caretakers of the wreck. This is a perspective that doesn't get covered quite often, and Lusitania is unique in the sense that it is relatively close to shore, it can be dived on, and it is actually owned by a person. Parallels come in with Britannic. And funnily enough, Simon Mills's book about the Britannic, The Last Titan, no, not The Last Titan, Exploring the Britannic, actually deals with some of those similar themes. This book was published as part of the Centenary celebrations commemorating the sinking of the Lusitania. While looking at how it affected the Irish national consciousness, it also looks forward at how do you take care of a very fragile and unique wreck site, and what can you do to preserve it moving forward, and also utilizing the newest technologies to see how much more we can learn from the wreck. Yeah? Will we finally know what that source of that second explosion was? Hopefully, with a bit more time and with more advanced technology, we can actually finally get in or sift through the decaying layers of the ship's hull to understand exactly what it was that created that second explosion. As you would have seen, this book is beautifully illustrated. It is a breezy read. It is a beautifully laid out book, attractive title cover. But for those who want more on the historical, technical side of things, plenty of other books that deal with that in far more detail and with far more authority. The strength of this book is that it looks at the story of the Lusitania from a very different perspective, from a personal and national perspective, and the role that it played within the history of Ireland, and also what the Irish government are continuing to do to protect the wreck, but also the memory, and trying to dismantle some of the myths that have built up over the last century. That is its key selling point, and for those who are interested in that different perspective of the Lusitania story, then this book comes highly recommended. For those who want the historical, technical side of things, look elsewhere. And for that, this book is a three captain's hats. It's a beautifully laid out, interesting, and even at times fascinating, certainly with the technical elements, look at the story of the wreck of this ill-fated, four-funneled North Atlantic liner.